discretionary 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening once again, Honorable Dr. Haas. On this side. Good evening.
Oh, right, okay. Oh, yes, I see now. Okay, yeah.
If you don't see me, just follow the teeth.
No, I was vaguely thinking of something else. Sorry, I was, but I mean, sorry. I knew you were there somewhere, and I couldn't remember. But now you mention it, I see you. Yes. Okay.
Dr. Haas, let me start off by being very frank with you.
Please.
The methodology, though your methodology comes with very good intentions, you must understand, for the purposes of the committee, the methodology of stating things that you have obviously researched, heard from certain people, but if you haven't verified them and you put it to us, those are things that we cannot use for our investigation. So what I'm going to seek to do, as I studied what you submitted to us, I'm only going to zoom into things that I think that you can authoritatively answer to based on experience and based on what you state here. Okay? So we're going to do it that way. So let's start off by dealing with your experience. You speak about in the 1980s, you joined PFP. What was so important about what the party stood for during apartheid? PFP.
Do you want me to answer that first?
Yes. What does it stand for?
Okay. I joined the party.
What does the party stand for?
It was providing the only opposition there was to the Nationalist Party, mainly through Helen Suzman, and we could then give her reports on abuses by the police that she would raise in Parliament. That was, I'm not much interested in politics, but it was a strategic thing to do, especially as the regional director of the Progressive Federal Party. Actually was the director. He had come up and he'd reached out to townships and he was working there. So we were able to work together, and he was working with lawyers, and that's how this formed. Basically, it wasn't about the politics. It was about getting some sort of opposition to the Nationalist Party.
And you also exposed the wrongdoings of apartheid police at the time.
Absolutely. We took affidavits about the abuses, and Ainsley was very involved in working with the lawyers who were, there was a lot of illegal detentions then, for example. We needed lawyers, so he was doing that. So it was a kind of increasing combination of contributions, and the Black Sash were also doing some things too.
And then also you worked closely with the Goldstone Commission. Who set up the commission?
President de Klerk set up the commission, but I know you're going to say apartheid judge, but some of the judges were okay. There were some that were very good.
Dr. de Haas, Solda, please do not assume what I'm...
Oh, somebody said it was an apartheid judge.
Just follow my line of questioning. Okay. Very good. All right. So... de Klerk did so. You are not very positive about police behavior even during that time. Tell us a little bit about that.
With the time in the early days of the Goldstone Commission, do you mean?
Yes.
Well, I mean, I think that's on record. The police were coming and saying, right, and I was kind of quite amiable towards them. They were welcome, and I just these were kind of white security police, put it that way, mainly. But the police, for example, the stability units that were in the townships, had a very negative image in people's mind because they went in and disarmed anything, even a few homemade meth before the killers came. And so there were negative stereotypes about the police. And of course, trust feed happened. And in the trust feed case, the police were shown to be working with the people that went in at the massacre. I mean, that was all. So when I say that, I'm saying that, they didn't necessarily change their behavior. Some tried to show that they had.
You also mentioned something about the complicity with warlords from the police at the time, and you also stood up against that.
Yeah, indeed I did, because this was later. This came out in trials when this was after the violence carried on for a few years after 94 in specific areas. And for example, if you take these cases that Vilagazi was investigating up in the Mtubatuba area and Mandini area, we had affidavits from people about how the police were abusing them, and they were also getting abused by the police, by the warlords, under threat. But the very concrete evidence came out in a court case up at Mtubatuba, where the evidence was that, and there was a conviction, for the warlords, one had been taken out, I think. Some of them die when things are getting a bit hot. And the evidence was there, though, that the local police, that we had actually, the lawyer for John Wills, the lawyer for the ANC, had lodged a complaint about the local public order policing because they were also abusing people. And they apparently, according to the evidence at the trial, they'd gone in and shone the lights on the houses that had to be attacked. So this was the sort of reports we were getting then, and there were convictions in these cases I'm talking about.
So would I be correct then in saying that based on your history right from the 1980s, even during apartheid, fighting against wrongs by police, whether it be apartheid police post-apartheid, this drive that you have, it's not something that you just miraculously gained after 1994. You fought this very same thing that you're doing now since the 1980s, in apartheid and after apartheid.
Yes.
Your issue is wherever there is police corruption, wherever there is workings of police that is negatively affecting the poor, you stand up against it.
Yes, I do. I haven't stopped since. That's what's bugging me. I don't really want to do it, I can tell you, but I haven't stopped because people keep asking me.
And this is what you have tabled to us. So I'm taking this from your statements here. So you have experience in that. Which other commission were you part of? That there was one more. Was it Morana or?
Well, it was the Morani. It was my information about hit squad killings up in the North Coast in what is now isikaleni. I was often up in isikaleni. But my information about the hitmen who were killing people all over the place was given to the Goldstone Commission, who ensured that a credible team of detectives investigated, and there was a conviction. That was Romeo Mbambo and two others that also named, and that was my information that I passed on, that was followed up by the police, and there were convictions.
All right. So you can then, based on that background, your opinion can be considered authoritative and credible around my next question. You've just proven that. My next question would be, in the formulation of a political task team or a task team, is it important or imperative for it to be headed by a senior detective, and why?
It's always been the case because detectives have to inspect dockets and evaluate the evidence that the people under them have actually accumulated. And if you're not a detective, you can't do that. And the further control is exercised by the prosecutors, who then look at the dockets and say, well, this is good, or you need to go back and get more evidence. I mean, ever since I've worked with the police, this is the way it's been, put it that way. I mean, it makes sense. How can you, if you're not a detective, if you're not experienced detective, you only get to be senior in most cases, although there's a bit of a not quite so simple now, but normally you get to be more senior when you've got experience, and you're in a position to do that because somebody has got to keep checking on the quality of the evidence, even before it goes for the prosecutor.
You raised that element as a concern with the current PKTT. What is your concern around that?
There's no senior people that are, I mean, there was supposed to be. As I said to you, the national deputy for detectives was in overall charge. He had to have the reports, but there was a brigadier who was the local provincial person, and that brigadier very soon left. And people say, well, no. And they all say the same thing. No, he couldn't take it anymore because he was getting instructions and he was in charge of investigations. He was the one that did the dockets then, I was told. So, and then it seemed, I have not come across another name that's there all the time. If I would say to someone, well, who's doing the dockets now? Well, there was a captain who came in and there's a colonel. I mean, that's, why? Why isn't there a fixed structure?
So who is running the PKTT now? And what is your information on whether or not he qualifies as a senior detective?
Well, I'm told, and this I don't know at this stage, I'm told that some of the people that were in the task team have gone back to their bases that they came from. One might have been a stock theft sergeant somewhere, or, it could have been, not all the people in the task team were detectives. But I'm not sure those that were carrying dockets that are in court, I'm not sure who is now overseeing them. I mean, in theory, it should be a senior person in the province.
All right. So
I don't know, though. I can't answer that because I do know that in the case of the police, there isn't one. There's just the prosecutor.
So what we're going to do is, like I told you at the beginning, because you don't know, we're not going to accept that as authoritative. You said earlier that the current coordinator of the PKTT, General Kumalo, is not a senior detective.
He's not a detective. He's never been, from what everybody tells me. He's been operational response.
Now, once again, are you saying that based on you are sure, or are you saying that based on what you've heard?
What I've heard is consistent across various reports independently, that he was definitely operational response for most of the time. There's no record anyone has of his having been a detective. And I'm talking now not just people in crime intelligence, but people who were in the police for a long time, who know, like a senior retired person, who had never come across him as a detective.
So your submission is confidently that currently the PKTT is not coordinated by a senior detective?
As far as I know, because I don't know whether or not those members, you see, that's the other foggy thing in all this, because some of those cases are still in court. And the investigating officers were allowed to keep those dockets that are still in court. Now, when they've gone to court, the investigation is over because it's in the hands of the prosecutor. So I don't know whether, I mean, once the investigation gets to a prosecution.
So what we'll do is we will take your response to be you don't know, but we will keep for the record that we must ask and interrogate the question whether or not the current PKTT coordinator is a senior detective or has detective experience, okay? So we'll take it like that. Let's jump into your Volume 1, Annexure Bundle Volume 1. I want us to go to the letter, page 23 to 26, MDH 5.1. There's a section in section 4. This is a letter you wrote to General Kumalo. So I want us to spend my remaining time on this. So you must be very concise here, Doctor.
This was in 2021. Is that the letter you're referring to?
That's correct.
I think it's the only one that's in here.
Yes. So let's go to paragraph 4. The reason why I'm zooming into that is because, once again, I'm going to test the authority of your evidence, or what you are supplying as backup of your position, because you use the words you can confirm. So if you can confirm, then that means it is something that we can use. So I ignored everything else where I see that you can't really say for sure. So we're just going to zoom into where you specifically state to us you can confirm. So let's go to paragraph 4, number 4.
Sorry, could you just tell me exactly which bundle it's in here? I'm getting myself muddled, as I always do. Which page is it in the? Is it in the?
It's item MDH5,
okay.
1, volume 1 of Annexure Bundle.
Okay.
Annexure Bundle, volume 1. Are you there?
Okay. Yeah. Okay, I've got it now.
Number 4.
Commission SAPS, 11th of October. Yep.
You wrote this letter to General Kumalo.
Yeah.
Did you get a response?
No.
Let's read 4. Would you please? I will stop you where I would want to question you. So let's read yesterday afternoon from there.
Okay. Yes. General Kumalo, yes. Members of General Kumalo's team, seizure of the phones. And I think...
Point number 4, it starts with yesterday afternoon.
Yes.
Sunday, 10th October.
Yeah.
Continue.
Okay.
It's your statement.
I received a report.
Yes.
Right. And he'd been arrested at Loop Street. I wasn't able to confirm, after speaking briefly to him, that members of the ministerial task team...
See what you're saying there. You said...
This was
yesterday afternoon, Sunday, 10th October, I received a report that Zulu had been arrested and detained at Loop Street. I was subsequently able to confirm, after speaking briefly with him, that members of the ministerial task team had arrested him. Now, you are saying that the PKTT has arrested him, and you are able to confirm that, right?
That's what he told me, and it was I think, from the people he described, and that was when I first heard about National Intervention Unit.
Are you able to confirm, are you sure or not? That
sure as one can be about it, because, I mean, Tabiso Zulu is very intelligent, and he's been doing his own research on these matters for many years.
You see, Doctor, you must not say as sure as one can be. You must say, I'm sure, as one can be, that this was the PKTT who has arrested this gentleman, because what you are claiming is that the PKTT, it was basically overreach. So if you are sure, you must say you are sure. I'm just using it because you use the words "you can confirm." Okay?
Yeah, I spoke to Kumalo, I think, yeah.
All right. Let's continue. The name of a certain Ramadi was mentioned. Conversation, the arresting officers had seized 2 cell phones in the possession and told him that they were going to download the content of the telephones. These telephones should have been stored securely at Loop Street Station, but a duty officer confirmed that the arresting officers had made an entry that they had removed the phones, but no contact details were available for me to follow up. I did speak to General Kumalo about this, and I also sent him messages complaining about it. How did you speak to General Kumalo about this?
On the telephone.
So you have telephonic records that you have spoken to him about this?
Yes, yes. I mean, I don't know if I've got the records anymore. It's 4 years ago, but I did speak to him.
Okay. That you can say for sure.
Yes, yes.
I requested that he send his email address so that he could follow up via email, but since you have not received anything back.
No, I never received anything. I think the phones were reported. There was a report, though, to the Inspector General of Intelligence by Tabiso himself.
Okay, so what you are telling us by this statement, because this is the only thing closest to what I can use as something with authority. With this, are you saying that the PKTT has arrested people, taken possession of phones on cases that was not falling within their ambit? Is that what you're saying to us?
In this case, it wasn't, because they'd arrested him. I can't remember what they arrested him for, because he had opened a case of assault, and they claimed they were coming to investigate it. Then they arrested him on another charge, and that's in further correspondence I don't have with me, but it wasn't political that they were dealing with.
All right. Dr. Haas, you also said that earlier you wanted to shed light on the fact that at one political killing, provincial police did a good job with this particular political killing, and then when the PKTT started, they took over and then withdrew the charges of that.
Not immediately.
Talk about that to us. Okay.
What happened is, and if you look, I think I made a copy of quite an interesting media report where clearly he's going into figures and things like that. And what had happened, he gives the figures for the people that had been taken that were handing dockets. He said so many members and so many had been transferred from their units because we took the dockets, right? So that's how that happened. And then initially, in the first, and I haven't yet pieced together the whole timeline, because initially there was supervision of the task team. There was a Brigadier in Ngwenya who was there, and he looked at the dockets. This would have been, I think he was still there. I think it would have probably been around 2020. Maybe he was, but I'm not sure. He wasn't there for more than a year or two. And one would need to say, well, but it wasn't the immediate takeover, but it was soon after the takeover that those charges, by 2020, the charges had been withdrawn in those 3 cases that had been handled by provincial people against the politicians. Because in the Magaka case, they didn't withdraw the charges against any of the hitmen. They didn't give them bail either, but then a new prosecutor came in and he gave them bail, apart from the one that was Ngwengwe, because I think he had another conviction.
But you are saying that the PKTT withdrew those cases?
Yeah. Yeah, they did, because they were in charge then.
Thank you, Chair.
Are you done, Honorable Sauls?
Yes, sir.
We don't want even a minute, a discretionary minute from the chair.
If I would take a minute,
Okay.
then it is something that I would want to say to Dr. Haas.
You are allowed.
Frankly. Dr. Haas, there is a scripture that says, knowledge puffs up. Knowledge puffs up. And oftentimes, I want to share with you honestly, I've never understood that scripture until today. Your vast knowledge and experience, in your wisdom, strike a balance when how you come across to people based on that. I can suspect when I look at the way you speak in your writing, even if you use the words please and I request, but you said to General Mkwanazi, please also either ascertain from General Kumalo or request the email or request he emails me directly whether the police who arrested Tabiso Zulu had obtained a warrant. It's like you are speaking to a provincial police commissioner who has people under his command. And when you, from outside, almost speaks as if you are commanding him rather than you are seeking to join hands with him, you come across as puffed up. And mine to you would be very humbly, respectfully, caution against what Scripture tells us. Don't allow your knowledge to puff up. Thank you.
Well, I didn't know I was rude to General Mkwanazi. Sorry.
You must start by saying hallelujah before you respond.
Oh, sorry.
Hallelujah.
Okay, right. Well, thank you. I mean, I appreciate, even if you're, I've dealt with this sort of criticism for 40. Look, it's like déjà vu for me. People were saying this about me in the 80s. So, okay, right. But I do try to be polite when I communicate with the police. But look, they are civil servants. They should be accountable to the public. It's as simple as that. You shouldn't have to beg them to be accountable. That's what they should be doing, and most of them aren't. So, and I also learned years ago, and this sounds bad, I try to be polite when I communicate with them, but sometimes I see that they're just basically bullies, and the only way you deal with bullies is to bully them back. And then they get the message. So, but it depends. I'm not saying I do this universally with police, but you actually have to stand up to them and say, but these are people's rights. Can you just, inform them or help them or whatever they need to do?
But maybe you should consider that's perhaps the reason why you didn't get a response.
Okay.
I'm joking about it, actually.
Thank you so much, Honorable Sauls. Follow up, Honorable Matthys.
Thank you, Chair. Dr. Diaz, in your opinion, was it a sound decision for the Minister of Police to largely disband the political killings task team based on the complaint that you sent and with your evidence that you've just given us that was largely based on media reports because you didn't have access to verifying information